Hey, welcome to the last day of hashtag My Story by the Decade, a memory keeping workshop by retrohipmama and Christy Makes. We are now at the end of our workshop, and I really hope that you've been able to take a little trip down memory lane, remembering some specific things in your life that mean a lot to you, that you've documented, and that your family will appreciate in the coming decade. And I just want to say a little thank you for registering. We had so much fun in this class. I really hope that you've enjoyed it as much as we have. So here is my scrapbook. I decided to go with the 6x8 format, and I'm using a Becky Higgins watercolor journal. So I didn't pick up the inserts that came with it. I just grabbed the binder. This is a tab that I have. It's a freebie for one of our classes, so if you sign up, you get a freebie with these tabs. I haven't decorated them yet. I'm not exactly sure what I'd like to do with them, but I did want to put it in here just to show it and have a little place to start. So I was born in 1979, and my family at the time looked like this. I just stamped the date that I was born, and it was a photo of me in the hospital, and just put my name. I used my silhouette to cut out the 79, and then I also cut it again as a shadow, so I could have a bit of a background on it. These cards here are come with the class, so if you sign up, or if you've already signed up, you have access to those cards, and they're designed specifically for each decade. There's a set of 4 per decade, and we started with the 50s, and there's a set for every decade, and this happens to be the 80s, but there was still so much 70s influence in the style and decoration and clothing that I decided to use them where the colors matched. So this was our home at the time, and one of my brothers, and this is a Christmas thing, but just I used several different pieces from other kits and other supplies that I had to work around the inspiration of the cards that were made specifically for the class by Christy Makes. And the next set is just a little dedication to my mom and my grandma. So a couple of the cards here from the kit, I used some rainbow alphas to go with the rainbow theme here. She was wearing a rainbow shirt. It's just rainbows were so big in the late 70s, early 80s. I wanted to commemorate the rainbow. And then I specifically used some buttons on these pages because as a child I used to play with buttons that my grandma and mom had. They had these big buckets of buttons, and I used to separate them and organize them by color and find matches, and then I would just throw them back in the bin. So I wanted to use buttons just for them. On this card here, let me see if I can grab it out of here. I made it a little bit interactive. And this is a card that was from a game called Memory, you know, where you flip the cards over 2 at a time and you're trying to find a match. Well, my mom and I used to play these all the time, and there were animals with each letter on the inside. And so I taped it down with some washi, and then I wrote a little journaling on the inside. Get this back in here. And here, one of the cards, 2 of the cards actually, from the 70s, well, maybe they're from the 60s, I forget which decade they fall in, but they were perfect to add a little fun to this photo and the leftover blanket that I have from my childhood blanket. I ended up just writing a few of my favorite shows at this time, and kind of what I used to do to watch TV. And then I added the word happy and every single day in from 2 different stamp sets, just to show that this is really what I liked to do. I liked to put the couch cushion down on the floor, grab my blanket, and watch some TV. And then I spent a lot of time at my grandma's, and she always had beautiful flowers. She loved her garden. And so I wanted to just make this page very pretty and commemorative of the time that we spent and the things that I remembered about being with Graham. And here I used the same card as before. I actually printed, a couple sets of each, but I just felt like the color green went real well with the grass in the background here. And I used some modern embellishments just to journal a little bit. And I used a piece of washi down the side of each of these, mainly because these had holes punched in different places because I was using them for a different project before. So it was mainly just to cover it up, but it ends up giving it some extra little flair. And on this side, I had 2 professional pictures of myself my mom took of me when I was little. So I just used blue, the 2 color blues as the main color scheme, and then just found some things to go along with it. That was a really fun one to do. Let's see. So these 2 photos here are taken a couple years apart, but they matched as far as the rainbow theme. So I wanted to just make them work together on the same page. And here I just used a little word art and then a couple of stickers to show the year. And then I just journaled here about how my mom always made the best and prettiest cakes. She always liked to decorate them for the theme of our birthdays. So I thought that was real cool to document. And then I put here some journaling because something that was really important in my life was that after I basically got a second chance for a dad. And once my biological father left the family, my mom met somebody new, and this was just kind of the story about how we became a family, and because I don't have, let me back up a little bit. This is just basically to talk about how the first time that I called him dad and how that kind of spiraled into him eventually adopting me when I was 13. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot of pictures of the 2 of us together during that time. I don't know, what the family situation was as far as, did we own a camera? I mean, maybe I just wasn't into getting my picture taken. I mean, I was 12 and 13 and was, had a bit of an attitude. So I just wanted to make sure that the journaling was here for just kind of the beginning of how he became my dad. And he still is my absolute favorite person. And then this picture here is just of my sister and I. It was kind of a turning point for her and I. That's his real daughter. And we became just the best of friends. And this was one of the better, one of the first times that we really got to hang out and be silly. And it wasn't, embarrassing or anything. We were just singing a fun song to my parents at the time together. And it was just a fun thing. We were wearing our dad's hat, cowboy hats, and singing a country song to them. So these are the kinds of things that, if you have stories like this that you need to be told, get them told, get them out of your head and out of your heart and get them on some paper. So on the other side, I ended up just using just a real simple title card that just matched. It's not an exact match, but I liked that the green didn't take away from this page too much. And then so this page was really just all focused around this particular picture. The shirt was a favorite shirt of mine, and I had some supplies that really fit in with the theme of that shirt, and specifically the back side of the card. So back here I had that memory game card. Well, this is the back side. This is the the top side that is on every single card. And I always have had these 2 things paired together. Like someday I knew I was going to put them together because the purple and the blue was just perfect. And then they ended up working really well with the laser card that comes in the class materials. And I did the Hello 1986 called because it was just very reminiscent of the time and what the style was. Speaking of style, this was in fashion. High tops and tights and sweater dresses. So, and so I used one of the kit cards and put the year here and then listed, you know, my top 10 favorite kid shows that I watched at the time. And on the opposite side, it's just a school photo. I didn't do anything to it other than just punch the holes in it. And I left the back just the way that it was because I had actually written all my things on the edge, on the back, and gave it to my grandma. And eventually I got it back. So on here, these two cards were designed by Christy as well for the class. The Walkman and the Girl Talk. I mean, I think we all had that phone, the clear phone with all the crazy colors inside. And so I wanted to use specifically this picture because I was wearing a Swatch watch and acid wash jeans, and just, it was kind of the style at the time, and I wanted to, I just wanted to remember that in future years. And then here I listed all of the artists that I loved at the time. I probably had all their posters on my wall at one point. And then here was my 7th birthday, and some of the toys I got were, you know, very hip for the time. So I got a Popple. If you remember those, they kind of curled into their own pocket and then they turned into like a fluffy ball, and then you could unpop them and they became like this little animal. And then also a gem doll, but the character was from the Misfits. They were the, you know, the rebel band, and apparently I was a rebel from the beginning, because I did not want a gem doll. I wanted a Misfit doll. Okay, so this side here is going to be the end of the decade. And I just used any black and white supplies I could find, and it was so cool that I had this black and white dot that matched the pattern there of the tablecloth that my mom used for my birthday party. And of course, my eyes are always closed for pictures. I just really, it's a curse. And then to make this bat symbol, I actually just looked up a PNG on the internet, and saved it and cut it out with my silhouette. Here is a full page layout that I did to talk about our first house together. When my parents bought their first house together, my brother and I happened to be there at one time or another, and my mom took a picture of us. So I did some journaling here and put it into this little pocket. And then just use some random things from supplies I had that fit and matched. And then this is actually from one of the kit cards, but I sliced it off just so that I could use this piece. And then I put the address of the house that we used to live in. So enter 1990. And I kind of just did a little journaling here about what life was like for me at the time, you know, going to school, having new friends, because not only when they bought this house did we buy a house, but I moved cities. We moved from Napa to Vacaville, and that was pretty devastating as a 10-year-old, you know, having grown up in one specific place. You know, you get established. So I was working on making new friends, and my dad put up a basketball hoop. This is a big patio here, and my dad put up a basketball hoop, so we always played half court together. And then we were always working on the house. So this is right when we soon after we moved in. So, I mean, just the difference between when we bought it and when they sold it a couple years ago is just amazing. Here are some pictures of myself and my sister that I wanted to make sure to document, just because we always dressed exactly the same. And even if our colors were a little different, we always basically wore the same thing everywhere we went. And that's just how we were. And then this snapshot of me, my mom took of me hanging out on my grandma's porch. And that's just always what we did. I sat there with my little paperwork or whatever I was doing, making lists or whatever, and drinking iced tea that my grandma would make us. It was just one of my favorite places. She lived on a lake, and her porch actually looks right out onto this big lake, and there's swans and geese, and I really miss that place. 91, just another photo of my sister and I, and then a photo of my mom and sister and I when we bought our first 2-room tent. We camped a lot when we were kids. Those were our vacations. And so that was a really fun camping trip for us. Let's see here. This is just, you know, some other pictures of my sister and I and kind of what we used to do camping. We used to always want to be in the sun, and just a little fashion stuff here. I just wanted to remember how we used to dress, and that this was our we had just bought this car. It was my dad's car, and we were all very excited, and this ended up being the car that I learned how to drive in. So that was kind of cool. 6th grade, the graduation ceremony, I just used a couple of cards from the strawberry collection because they kind of just matched. I mean, this isn't me back here, but I wanted to pull some of those fun colors. And then I also wanted it to lay against this picture, this school picture, where, you know, the background was blinds. I don't know what the deal was with that, but that's what we did. That's what the backgrounds that we had. We had mini blinds. Okay, so we're getting a little older here, into the teenage years almost. And I had a bull starter jacket, and if anybody knows fashion back then, you never ever ever wore your jacket up on your shoulders. I don't know. You were so uncool if you wore your jacket on your shoulders. So I just used a couple of black and white things. I thought the glasses print was really cool because I was wearing the brow rimmed glasses at the time, and officially was wearing them way before Taylor Swift said they were cool again. So I did a little journaling about how life was then, and then I did a little sketch of the Peace, Love, and Hairspray because, you know, you got to have the hairspray, when it was all about peace, love, and hairspray. 92, just a couple of different photos. I paired these two together because they both had some navy in them, so that way I just kind of worked around navy being the main color there. And I had my old ID from school just hanging around in the box of photos, so I used it because I didn't really have a lot of pictures during this time. So that's what I had. Another photo of my sister and I dressing exactly the same except for color. And I used this whole layout uses Tickled Pink Studio and one of their kits called Explore. So I just thought that the colors were absolutely perfect. The teal and the pink worked well with this particular photo. This is a unfinished page that I'm just not exactly sure what I want to do. It is a photo of my dad and I, and I don't know why I'm missing a bunch of photos of him and I. So and it's kind of out of order a bit, so I just hadn't really decided what I wanted to do with it yet, so I left it. Here is a photo. This is a school picture of me my junior year, but what I'd used it for was to kind of frame like my teenage years in a way. So I used this card. I think this came from a Becky Higgins set, possibly like Teen Boy or maybe Kiwi, I forget. But I kind of documented the things, again, how life was like back then. And then I wrote a little letter to myself, and I just titled it Dear Me, and then just kind of talked about, I wasn't, the time in which you're in high school, it's just 4 years, it's not, it didn't define who I was. It didn't, it taught me a lot, but it didn't change my life. And so but I feel a lot of guilt sometimes about, I wish I was a different way in high school. But I can't help that. And that's who I was. And I learned from it. And I learned that, I can make better choices and I can make those decisions. But I don't need to beat myself up over, being a kid, and making some kind of silly decisions. Now, thankfully, the decisions that I made didn't you know, take me into places that I wouldn't be able to get out of. But, you know, there are some certain things that I regret about these years. But I just wanted to give myself kind of some forgiveness about what that time was for me. Okay, so this page here is just about one specific year in school and a kind of an event that we put on as a class, and I just journaled about it here. And then it was like a 20s party, so we all got to dress up like you know, like the 20s, and I was a flapper, and so I used some kind of vintagey looking paper and embellishments to go along with that. And then here is another full page layout that I did. My school at the time did father-daughter dances. And this was a year that my sister and I went with my dad together. And the local paper was there, and we were featured in the paper, which was kind of cool. So here it was very neutral, so I just played with some fun colors, pinks and reds, and blacks and browns, and some cream, just a little more of a neutral, and just layered some things. And these don't come out, I've glued them in, but I give the illusion that they can kind of come out of there. And so that was really fun. I really liked doing this page. On the other side is another full page layout that's all about getting my driver's license. So I don't know why these were saved, but I'm glad that my mom saved them. And so these pictures actually had been scrapped previously when I used to do 12 by 12 traditional scrapbooking. So of course I cut it out in a circle because back then that's what we did. And I cut the car out in its silhouette. So I just used them as they were, which is fine. And then I just kind of tucked some things back here, and then this actually does come out, and it's a little journaling, and I just secured it with a black and white paper clip. And then I used some pop dots under here to kind of show a little dimension, because some of these things, you know, they're not glued down all the way. And then this page is about me getting my first car and my reaction. And I just stamped a little no way right there in between the two photos. And then I used this card that's actually from the 50s decade of the class materials, but I didn't have really a use for it. But I thought that it was perfect to go with getting my first car, because then I just journaled, just kidding, let's just go for a drive. And I just documented what car it was and my favorite things about having my own car, which was very cool. And as far as I got was a bit of my senior year from high school, and I used the mixtape card that's from the class materials and put in all of my favorite bands at the time. And then I just had this leftover photo of my second car, which was my absolute favorite car, and then just journaled about that. And I used just some real bright colors just to document and make that stand out a bit. But anyway, so the only things I have left to do are just the rest of my senior year, and I think that's where I'll stop, because I did the majority of my beginning scrapbooks kind of after high school, and I'm just going to keep those pages the way that they are. They're dated, and but that's okay. I like the idea of having a bit of a history with not just the things that we're documenting, but the style that we scrapbook them in. So there are some that I was okay with redoing, but I think for the most part I'll leave those traditional books the way that they are. But I love the idea that we can go back in time and use the photos and the times that were really special to us and get them documented. It's a really important thing. So I hope that you enjoyed the class. I hope that you got some journaling out. I hope that you got some memories documented. And thank you so much for being along this journey with us. Christy and I, we really appreciate the work that you've all put in, and we love seeing all of your pages, and we can't wait to see more. So have a wonderful day, and happy scrapping.